In this age of AI, it is so easy to get lost in the hype, right? New tools promising to solve all our problems. But here's the thing. A powerful tool in a broken process just means you create bigger problems, and you create them faster. So what we really need is a playbook for a data strategy that actually works. Today, we're going to unpack exactly that, a framework called the Insights Supply Chain. Let's dive in. So, this whole story usually starts with a really seductive promise, kind of like this one from Google. A future where getting data is as easy as scrolling your favorite app. They're talking about something called agentic analytics, these AI agents that can just understand your questions and go find the answers. And the big promise? To finally clear that infamous backlog that, let's be honest, plagues every single data team out. And yeah, that sounds absolutely amazing, doesn't it? But we have to stop and ask the hard question. Are these incredible new tools actually fixing a broken system, or are they just papering over the cracks? Are we getting real clarity, or are we just getting a higher definition, better-looking version of a totally distorted reality? To really get the risk here, it helps to think back to Plato's allegory of the cave. As Phyllis Safari puts it so well, every step in a data process is really just a projection of reality. And without the crucial human context that data professionals provide, these AI agents might just be showing business users more detailed, more convincing shadows, and everyone starts mistaking them for the real thing. Okay, so before we can build a new, clearer way of working, we kind of have to tear down the old one. And that starts with a term that has, frankly, haunted our industry for decades: business intelligence. The problem, right, is that BI has become this giant, meaningless catch-all. It's an umbrella that's supposed to cover everything from AI chatbots to dashboards to data pipelines. And that kind of ambiguity, it just creates strategic confusion. It blurs the lines between roles, and it makes it way harder for data teams to deliver any real value. And this slide just nails the problem perfectly. On the left, you've got your classic definition of BI, which basically says it's using data to do data analysis. Thanks, super helpful. It's a totally circular definition. But on the right, that's what we actually need: a clear, precise framework that tells you how to organize your people and your processes to get something done. So let's build that new framework. It's called the Insights Supply Chain, and it is a genuinely powerful mental model for understanding how you take raw, messy data and actually transform it into something the business can use, real value. So here's the core idea. We have to stop thinking about data work as just this endless series of disconnected requests and tickets. We need to start seeing it for what it is: a cohesive production system. It's a supply chain, just like in the real world, where value gets added at each and every stage to create a final product. And that product? Actionable insight. So let's break this down into its three core functions. First up, you've got data engineering. These are the folks building and maintaining the reliable infrastructure, the pipes. Then you have data analysis, where you extract, clean, and model that data to find the patterns hidden inside. And finally, and this part is so crucial, you have insights analysis. This is where you connect those patterns to the business and translate them into recommendations that actually make sense. Each step builds directly on the last. Okay, a framework is cool, but it's pretty useless if you can't do anything with it, right? So let's get practical. Let's apply the insight supply chain to one of the biggest, toughest challenges for any data leader out there. How do you actually structure your teams? And this is the tool for that, the Data Org Matrix, or the DOM for short. It's a dead simple 2x2 grid, but it helps you map out your entire strategy based on two really fundamental choices. Are your teams going to be centralized or decentralized? And are your people going to be generalists or specialists? What's so brilliant about this is how it immediately shows you the strategic trade-offs. For example, if you have a centralized team full of generalists, collaboration is organic. It just happens when people seek each other out. But if you go the other way, a decentralized model with deep specialists, well, now your knowledge is siloed. You need more formal structures, like cross-functional task forces, to connect the dots. The point is, there's no single right answer, only the right answer for your strategy. So you're probably wondering, where do the most advanced and, let's be honest, most talked about roles fit into this new model? Well, let's talk about the artisan data scientists, the AI specialists, and the seriously evolving role of the data analyst. So the very first thing we have to recognize is that not every role is going to fit neatly into one of those three little boxes. In fact, some of your most valuable data professionals, the real unicorns, are the ones who can operate across the entire system. This brings us to a concept from analytics leader John Thompson called the artisan data scientist. So instead of thinking about a worker on an assembly line who just does one part, think of a master craftsperson, someone who can take a really complex business problem and just own it end to end, from the rawest data all the way to a game-changing strategic recommendation. And what about all the AI roles? Well, the most crucial thing is that they can't be a separate team just floating out in space. They have to be orchestrated within the supply chain. They're accelerators, not gatekeepers, and they often work upstream on things like data modeling. The key here is to have centralized rules, governance, to manage risk, but then to let the individual teams execute and move fast. Okay, finally, let's come back to the data analyst. Because with all this talk of AI agents, you might think that role is on its way out. But actually, it's the complete opposite. Their role is being elevated. It is becoming one of the most vital, most human-centric roles in the entire organization. According to industry leader Colin Zima, the modern analyst actually wears 3 different hats. First, they're a curator, making data as simple as possible, but, not simpler. They're also a communicator, the person who actually gets everyone in a room to agree on what the word customer even means. And finally, they're a product thinker, someone who designs data experiences that actually solve a user's problem, not just throw numbers on a screen. So the ultimate question this whole framework forces us to ask is this: how is your organization designed? Is it an intentional, well-designed supply chain that truly empowers your people? Or is it still just a series of ad hoc, disconnected projects constantly reacting to the next fire? This framework, it gives you the clarity to choose and to build a better way.